Hey everyone, and thanks for watching another Kinsta Talks episode. My name is Marcel Bootsman. I'm the Partnerships and Community Manager for the EMEA region at Kinsta, and today I have with me Tammie Lister. Hi Tammie.
How are you?
I'm doing very well. I hope you are too.
Yeah.
Excellent. For the people that don't know Tammie is a longtime contributor to the WordPress project in various skills in various teams. Before we pressed record, I heard Tammie say something about she has gained a team, so I'm very curious to hear about that. But before we dive into the details, I would like you to introduce yourself a little bit more than what I just did for the people that don't know you.
Yeah, the best way I describe myself is a product engineer. I like to do engineering and product. I also sit between design. I like to do all the things and poke all the things. I think that's the best way. So in contribution, I can be found doing anything from call committing through to triage, through to doing project and product management. So very varied, I like to do.
Very varied. What's your, just to hook into that, what was your trigger to start contributing to WordPress? That's a long time ago, I know.
Yeah. So I think it was, I found something that was broken and I wanted it fixed, which is like everybody, right? And actually, originally I started in Core, and then Core was too noisy, and I went to BuddyPress. So I went kind of straight there, did BuddyPress for a while, and then came back to Core, and it was a bit quieter. So,
Cool.
and via theme view. So I've had kind of like a journey on the outskirts into Core.
Do you still remember what the thing was that was broke that triggered you?
So I think it was the same that I've done in a lot of, which is probably CSS styling. That seems to be the common breakage that I find on most open source projects or areas that I then kind of hook in. It's either that or a documentation thing that I fix. I think it's a lot of people's first good, like it is the good first bug is something to do with CSS or something in like documentation. So I think it was like a real good first bug.
Nice. Good to hear. So we recorded a video in June when we met each other at WordCamp Europe in Basel. Um, we've seen each other on LoopConf, which was, what is it, 3 weeks ago? Something like that.
2.
2 weeks ago. Yes, time
Yeah,
flies.
I think so.
Time flies.
Mhm.
What are your takes on LoopConf? Can you share something about that with the audience?
Yeah, so I love that we're having something in England. So super biased. England has not had really anything for a while. We had one WordCamp that happened for a couple of years. We haven't really recovered since COVID from having these events, honestly. Also, England's so expensive. So it was really good to have. I hope we see more kind of events like that. It was really nice to see it linked to the WordPress London meetup as well. So that kind of gave the community an opportunity. So England is small, but it is really expensive to travel around. So London is far, not that far, but seems a pretty far way for me to come. And this is probably like, that was probably my nearest meetup for me. But yeah, it was
Nice.
really nice to kind of get together. It's also super biased, lovely that everyone came to my country. And
Sure
I
it
had no jet
was.
lag. It was so good.
Yeah, there was a little bit of how do you say that? A lag in ticket sales, but I think eventually we had a nice crowd there. Lots of seats filled. Great presentations. I learned a lot. Kinsta was there as a sponsor also, so we had good conversations at the sponsor table. So yeah, very happy, and yeah, traveling there was pretty easy. I just got on the train here in Rotterdam and got out
Oh,
in
you did the
London.
channel.
So yeah, didn't through the tunnel, which was well, pretty boring, but very handy.
Yeah,
It's yeah.
I remember when I was a kid, I always expected it to be glass, and it isn't. And I also am glad it's not glass because it would probably be really gross to see underneath.
Yeah, it's not. No, the water is not very transparent in this part of the sea. Indeed. So about your contributions, because as Kinsta we sponsor you for part of your contribution time. What have you been working on?
Yeah, so since we last spoke, I was doing like co-editor and I was doing triage, but one of the there's two areas that I've kind of been ramping up the contribution. One has been within Core AI. We've been taking a more kind of project management approach to the different repos, the building blocks of AI, using quotation marks. And that's really good. We've had releases and more. So we're going to have abilities in 6.9. That's just really exciting to work on because it's ever changing. But the less approach that's going on over there is really a companion into the other areas as well. And the big kind of thing is the core program team. So it's a team that is forming and working out where it goes. A lot of that work has been established. I'm going to be the first team rep. A lot of that team has formed based on some of the work that had been done in the Core AI of having like a team that's spun up quickly, and also some of the processes we were doing within there. We've been doing roadmaps. We've been really trying to have weekly triage sessions, really trying to plan ahead what we're doing. And that team's actually seen two of us doing that work. So we've taken those practices over. But core program is going to be not telling people how to do things, looking at how things are done, trying to listen first, get the best ways of doing things for contribution and cross collaboration. And when I mean that within core, so what can be done to unblock people to be able to contribute in the best way possible? And then how do we take that into other areas and suggest, hey, this is working in one space. Have you considered it? Could it work in your space? And how do we support the people doing that work already? Because there's lots of people doing this kind of project and program work already. So it gives them a place to be able to come. At the moment, just forming goals, working out what we do, have a Slack channel, we're not having weekly meetings. We're just doing async because most of the people involved are already in different teams. So the last thing we need is more meetings for meetings.
Agreed.
And yeah, we've got P2 like on the make, and we're just starting to form. And that's really good because it one of the biggest things I've been doing is going back forward all the community summits and seeing some of the really good ideas that had come out about communication and about cross-team collaboration. And that has come up in the threads of the Slack well, this idea came up. How about we could consider this? And it's a chance to kind of look at those ideas with a fresh perspective because we could bring those from this team. So
yeah,
just a lot.
What kind of ideas, to make it a little bit more concrete, what kind of ideas are we talking about?
So we've had lots of different ones. One really small one is how do we make non-code or different contributions? Could there be a noteworthy and expanding the noteworthy contributor section? That's a super practical but small one. That's something maybe we could do with a release. I'm going with like the small practical all the way up to how do we propose roadmaps? How do we set up a new team? So actually in forming the new team, there's been a number of small paper cuts and small interesting things along the way that I've been able to document, that I've been able to log, and been able to also do processes. There's even a page we've got a handbook in the core program team, and there's a handbook page for roadmaps. So I've been trying to collect all the roadmaps. Spoiler, most teams on core do not have a roadmap yet, or they have it in their GitHub. So surfacing those, but there are some really good ones. So having a template from some of those. When we were doing Core AI, one of the things that been able to copy labels from one repo to the other, there's a command that you can do that, but it's not surfaced anywhere. So things like that, being able to log and surface, it goes from really the small thing. You're saying, well, it can be a tiny little thing, like a tiny little command. You could do it at GitHub. If you are setting up a new repo, you could do this, right? To massive thing of like, how on earth do we solve the problem of recognition for someone who's been doing a lot here? That's a bigger conversation that not just one core program team is going to deal with. And I think focusing on let's have some wins, small wins, and then kind of taking it from there. So we're working out and having some goals at the moment. So yeah.
Nice. You mentioned that some, or I don't remember if you said a lot or some teams, that they don't have a roadmap. Do those teams primarily operate triggered by track tickets?
Yeah, so track tickets, or the roadmap is the release. And I
Yeah.
think that that's kind of essential, and a clarification point. The roadmap is the release. So the release has a roadmap and the project has a roadmap. So tick.
Yes.
And some teams don't need a roadmap. And this has been a really interesting discussion. So someone came in and was like, this team doesn't have a component maintainer. This component doesn't have a component maintainer and doesn't have, well, it didn't need it. It's a small, self-sufficient, doesn't need to have that. It's not one size fits all. To be able to say, like, every single team needs this, every single section needs this. Core is a myriad of different combinations that can choose your own adventure. Core program team is an example of that. Historically, you may be like, every single team needs to have weekly meetings, needs to have X, Y, Z, all of these kind of checkboxes. You don't. The point really is that the team needs to determine what it needs to have. And if it's a small component, it may be absolutely fine that it isn't in maintenance mode, but it doesn't need maintaining, and or it doesn't need like 2 people constantly being funneled into hovering over it. Because what are they going to do? What's the work? It's not resource management. It's not good. But you could find a massive component only has one person holding it up, and that's like a resource kind of perspective.
So at LoopConf, we saw a presentation by Juliette about maintaining open source projects as a whole, not just the WordPress projects. What do we do in the WordPress community to make sure that the stuff that we do is well maintained?
Yeah. I'm going to first of all kind of give my personal perspective, and then that kind of leads into really one of the big reasons why I want to do the core program, or why I think we need something like that. And it comes from, you asked me where do I come from? What do I kind of do? Well, Linux and kind of art and those kind of backgrounds taught me about open source and taught about open nature of working. And in order to do that, having a project-based approach. And what do I mean by that? Well, actually knowing where you are going to put people. So it's all great saying like, I'm going to have an art project. Awesome. How do you want funding? Who do you need? What are you going to do? That applies outside. That also applies in Linux and kind of outside. One of the things that we absolutely have it in issues and we absolutely have it in GitHub. But at the moment, we could be like, I think Y area needs people, right? And absolutely Y area does need people. But if you go to Y area, is there a page? Is there a listing? Is there saying how why people can get contribution to something? Now, maybe, but not in all cases. And personally, I think it's really, really important. And from a project perspective, it's really, really important to identify those areas and really focus. Core program is going to be focused on core, to be clear. It's not doing everything or dealing with everything. There are some beautiful areas in the project that are already doing this work, and also areas in core that are already doing this work. I'm not saying that no one's doing this work. It's more about surfacing where these projects are, where the opportunities are. This also helps with contribution. So if someone comes along and knows that they need contribution, and I found this in my own contribution journey, being able to say in my monthly posts, being able to say, I am working on X, Y, Z, and now I have very clear areas where I am focusing on and what I'm working on. It helps me get funding. It helps me know what I'm doing. It helps me gauge my success metric as a contributor. The money isn't going on me attending meetings, because for me personally, that's not my objective of what I want to do. And I've been very clear with people who are sponsoring me. For me, it's about these areas that I'm moving project through. When the core program happened, I went to a sponsor and said, hey, this is where I'm going to go to now.
Yeah.
These are kind of like the approaches that you are moving around and you can focus in on and be really precise about where you're going as a project. And we can get behind things and we can prioritize. So it is about the areas, but also then you can be like, in design, need to be able to be like, okay, there's 10 projects that need designers. These are the priority projects that need designers. These are the priority projects that need developers, outside of the things that keep the lights on in core. So we know we need releases. We know we need these things, but there are also other things that need to be maintained, like components that need to be, and also scheduling is really, really important. So it's amazing that we have releases, and releases are incredible. But we also need to be timing timing where we're doing projects and timing where we do things, and things don't just stop because releases happen. And we have this amazing time. I love Christmas because we have this downtime in core. And the downtime in core is like project festival, right? We can work on our handbooks, our documentation. So it's just a way of being more focused about it. And how does that tie in a little bit? I think one of the things I've actually seen a lot of projects not do so well, and it ties in with not getting contribution. It ties in with not having succession plans. It ties in with not showing where someone can join. You can be not, a dying project, and that was one of the parts of the talk. But you can be dying because of your self-sabotage. If you haven't highlighted the areas where people can contribute, you don't have to even mentor people. If you clearly mark where someone can have paths to success, and good first tickets is not the way alone. That's adorable. And give these projects, and then that leads into contribution days, and then that leads into sponsor. There's this whole cycle of just be clear where needed. And if your project doesn't need funding at the moment and it doesn't need pieces, show which projects do, or show which areas. So if maybe I'm going to pick on design because I've been in that area. Design doesn't need people at the moment. Great. In accessibility, right? Or training engineer. That's not the case, but do you know? Put the people in the areas of your project that need it. Put people in the areas of Linux, depending on the distribution, has done this good or bad to kind of balance it. And I think we have to see our project as an ecosystem. So some areas are going to need everyone to go, but everyone in one area at a time. I'm changing my metaphors. A ship. And the ship would just like kind of up tip, wouldn't it? Because everyone would just go in one direction and then...
That's not good for the ship, exactly, and not good for the project, indeed. Okay, so it's very good to hear that these things are being thought about and things are being put on paper.
Yeah, and it's the core program team is not about deciding those. It's about where are they, how do they get surfaced, and how can processes to get them from the people who already are in the teams get them surfaced. So it's not a deciding team, it's processing them out and then cataloging them is the best way that I can put it.
Exactly.
So,
exactly. Tammie, another question. We've been in the WordPress community for a couple of years already, and we know a lot of people. We know a lot of contributors, but I do also have conversations with people that think or feel that the amount of new contributors is not healthy. Say it like that. Do you have any insights on that, on how well, basically what the status really is, if you know that, and if you do, are there any plans or any programs to market WordPress in a way that we just say, hey, we need new people?
So I think there's a lot of points there, and I'm going to
Sorry.
start with there's the credits. there's the credits scheme, which is taking having credits for working in different areas of WordPress, as in the project, to from a contribution to get credits to education. Now, I think the bet, which I think is a pretty strong bet, is that will lead to contribution. We've seen that if we go right back in time to Google Summer of Code, we've had some really strong committers and really strong people come up through those systems. So it's a bet placed on knowledge. It's not a bet placed on everything. And so there's that. And the marketing is people actually coming and learning and doing. I maybe go with that from a marketing perspective. I think you could have a lovely shiny advert that doesn't mean anything from a contribution perspective. It's a bit like the I go back to, we had Rosy Poo for testing, right? WordPress needs you to test, right? Back in the usability testing for phase 1. It was a fun thing, but it didn't necessarily increase usability testing. The fact that we had it available, the fact that we put it in the right place, the fact that we had people doing it, the location, the processing, and the fact that their results actually turned into action, that's what did it. The advert didn't do it. It was cute that we had Rapu dressed up in a Rosie costume. That was super cute. And I don't mean to be flippant about marketing, but And I'm not sure that marketing helps with contribution in that sense. I think the best marketing is really giving empowerment and showing. I mean, I'm 50. To say that I hip know what someone of those I don't. And I am very aware that my open source journey is not closing, but it is going into the later years, and that is beautiful and that is amazing. But I do have things that I can pass on. I would warn us as a community, and I see this a lot: people bemoaning or people saying like, "Oh, what's going to happen?" Well, if you keep on saying what's going to happen, the thing will happen. Or if you actually get excited about things, if you actually start using them, that's what we came into the project for. And I'm not saying like be stupidly positive, because I can be. And I'm not saying like be super bouncy, but maybe start using the stuff. Because if they see the old people, and we are, getting excited
Come
about
on, be a little bit nice now.
we are. If I got to 50, I can call myself old. If they see people of a certain age getting excited about using AI, getting excited about still using WordPress after this time, but using it in innovative ways, not being stuck in our ways, not having the same stuck conversations, actually listening to people and adapting to how we use it, one that keeps us young. And I'm joking about age because I don't want to be like wearing a polyester dress and having to have a blue rinse. Really, it's not going to suit me, and I don't want to do that. Right? Like we don't want. We've joked, right? We don't want to act our age. We obviously don't. Like
Agreed.
there's this whole like Gen X thing of not acting our age. So
Yep.
totally don't want to. So I do think we need to be a little bit careful about constantly looking for the young people to save our project, which is adorable and a bit of a weight to put on them, because we need to mentor to be able to
Yes.
support that. We need to get out of their way. That would be a really good part of it, and not determine what our marketing should be. Actually use these and listen to what they're, because what we think is good marketing is not good marketing. It's adorable. It's
No,
marketing.
that will work for our generation, or at
Yeah.
least we hope that will work for our generation. But the next generation totally does things in another way, in their
And
way.
they have different sensitivity to marketing, because we've been just bashing their brain with all these kind of different marketing techniques. In fact, they're very savvy about marketing in ways that we were pretty dumb about marketing. So yeah, it's about just listening. There are areas of our project that do have people that are my age, and I love it. And I always want to listen first. I always presume I'm the stupidest person in the room, and it's worked for me so far. And I therefore want to learn. I therefore want to use the technology that is being made and embrace it. I want to be doing this when I'm 70 quite happily. Maybe not at the pace, but I would quite happily like to be going, what's the new excitement in this open source project? What's the new excitement in whatever open source project? How can I use it? Because if I keep using my brain, it's going to be agile. If I start bemoaning and being grumpy, then that's what I'm going to become. And that's what people think old people do, is say, in my day, there were more young people in the project. In my day, but the fact was there were more young people because the project had just started. So of course there were, because it was a brand new project. It's not a bad thing that there's older people in the project, because they've just been there since the start. We just need to not get in their way, and we need to realize that it's not to belittle it, because we need to look at all ends, but we also need to not say, oh, if you're over a certain age, we're just not going to pay attention to you in a project, because that's historical knowledge.
Yep.
And if someone like was to say, oh, well, if people are over like 50, they can't be contributors anymore because we need so many young contributors, and there's like a commit age of like 50. Awesome. What about all the years knowledge that those people have got? Like, you're just telling me that I can't pass that on. And that's really hard on that kind of level. And also that new contributors might be a 70-year-old that turns up and finds our project and for the next 10 years contributes and she's incredible, and I want to learn from that human.
I really like your the nuance that new contributors don't have to be younger people. They can be people of all ages, all ethnicities, whatever. We're inclusive, so everyone can contribute. And yeah, that's just a great takeaway. You mentioned you get excited about stuff, and I want to talk a little bit to the end of this interview, and I want to know from you, what is the most exciting thing you are going to work on the coming weeks?
I always come back to where can I use generation in my tools, and where I'm still finding the limits in my workflow. And when I put AI on it or whatever, I kind of go back to generation. That's where that can be using it as a tool. That can be finding a friction point. I love doing experiments. I love setting myself challenges. But for me, it's an accepted part of my workflow. And I'm now trying to find out, like, how does that fit into my workflow? Where are the boundaries? Where are the frictions? I'm getting a lot more refined about the tools. I find them super exciting and amazing, but I also want to not be looking at I think for the past kind of year or 2 years, we've all been like, shiny tool, chasing, shiny tool, right? And just going around. And I feel the last 2 months or so, I felt like, these are the tools I'm using. These are now the tools that I'm finding out that fit my workflows. These are now the things that I like. And occasionally, like, telex has come up. I'm doing a block a day thing at the moment. That's super fun. Or I'm exploring different generations and stuff. But I do that more as like a gym for my developer brain, right? And finding the boundaries of where those tools can be. How could I use those in contribution? How could I use those in my work? Can I use those rather than create block? Can I use those rather than different tools? Can I swap them in? But that's kind of what I'm doing now. I'm also working on. I'm giving a talk in 6 weeks or so in a conference, and part of that's got me looking at different open source design libraries and how they work with AI. And that is a whole, even outside WordPress. So I'm really enjoying, like, how can AI generate from different AI libraries. There's a whole, like, cliff I've jumped off, and I'm
Yeah.
looking at over there as well. But really, it's how can generation and how can things be refined, and how can I not chase the new shiny, but how can I just refine what I'm doing? And I don't think I'm alone with that. I think people are now a lot more cautious before they sign up for something.
So the generative thing is pretty new. It's basically uncharted territory. We're all checking it out, whether it works, whether this AI agent is the best one or the other one or that. WordPress is working with, or the contributors are working with AI to do certain kind of things, and I don't want to dive into the details here. Do you see that new contributors, to pitch into the questions I asked before, do you see that new contributors might benefit from the generative stuff we have around right now?
So there's 2 points to that. One, generative to me isn't new, and that's maybe my art background. So I always go to generative art. And in the art world, it's not new at all. And in many different fields, it's not. We just think adorably in the tech industry that we just found AI a couple of years ago, and woo, it's a new thing. Ta-da! No, it has always been there as a practice. Ecology's done a little bit of it, and science might have been using machine learning for a little while.
Yes.
And I think that is one of the adorable annoyances of our industry, that we need to have a bit of a reality slap about, that this is not new. That plays a little bit into the contributors. I think we need to be open to contributors from different practices. We need to be open to psychologists big time. And how can they help us? And also, how can all the from data, machine learning, how can they help us doing what we're doing? Because we are like hodlers doing a lot of this stuff that they have been doing quite a long time.
Yeah.
And that's also really important, that we are aware of how naive we are in a lot of our practices compared to the establishment of these. Now, that's not all of us, but the majority of people are going, oh, I found AI a couple of years ago. No.
It's been there for a while
It
already.
has been there for a while. You also were using it for a while and you probably didn't realize. And I think that's the thing. It only became like really visibly aware. Now you mentioned new contributors. One of the biggest issues and one of the great things that AI allows to do is summarization and also processing. And one of the big things is we have so much documentation, so many handbooks, so much information that you can get anything you want from WordPress. Also, a lot of these cursor models, all these kind of things are trained on open source software. So they actually make open source things really well because they're trained on it because
Yeah.
it's open. Ta-da! Also, if you actually ask Claude or you ask ChatGPT questions and referring like handbook and give it some boundaries, you're going to get some really good information. Or if you like say like help me with their like setting the boundaries, you can get some really really good. Another good one which I quite like is trying to do reviews and getting feedback. You can do that and then you can learn from one of the things I always encourage people to do is load up kind of a repo and then or an issue and then get Claude to talk through how they would how they would work that issue. And then you can learn how to do that issue. And then you could form it into a PR request. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not cheating
No.
because you are doing it but with the computer teaching you. And when I learned to do computers, I learned from a textbook. I'm just learning from a digital textbook. It's totally fine. Whatever you're using is getting this information from a resource. Check it's not hallucinating because they really like pleasing you.
Always
But,
check. Yes,
yes,
definitely.
always check.
Everything. Yes, everything. We
To
are
say
not.
like the bit I like is no hyperbole, no hallucination, and show me your resources.
Show me the resources. Show me the sources. Yeah,
Yeah, I
definitely.
like just show me your work. But that's the same as when you did maths, right? Show me your working,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
it's that thing of like when we studied from blackboards and books and things like that because we're old.
Yeah. That's what we did. Yes.
Wasn't it slate or stones or something? Dinosaurs, yeah. But therefore, it's exactly the same kind of learning tool, and that's how we're learning. It's not like a video. I remember when video tutorials came up, there was a big thing, and like when I was learning JavaScript, videos and watch a video and see as I do. I wasn't cheating when that happened. I was being taught by the video I paid
Yeah.
good money for.
Yeah.
So yeah, that, and I think that helps new contributors because one of the biggest things that it can also help with one of the biggest problems, which is new environment setup. So many times you'd be waiting because you'd be like, oh, I need to phone someone that can actually help me. And you can ask that question. Like so many times you don't need to Stack Exchange it or whatever. You can get unblocked. I can get unblocked so much easier because of this technology. It's a little bit like there's a quote from hackers, bear with me. Spandex is a right, not a privilege. I always fall down to that because it's a ridiculous quote about spandex of all things, right? But it always makes me kind of smile and think about like how you use AI should be like use it lightly. Don't just kind of use it and
Yeah.
then think about the resources that you
Don't
use as well.
over trust it. Check your
Yeah.
sources. Those are great takeaways
Yeah.
to my questions and great takeaways for our viewers. Tammie, I want to thank you for your time for this interview. I'm looking forward to the next one already. One last question. You mentioned that you were going to give a talk in 6 weeks. When and where is that?
So I'm giving a talk in Sydney at the Developer Summit and also at NQ as well. So I'm doing 2
Okay.
talks. One is going to be on all open source and AI and design systems, and then the second is going to be on WordPress specific.
Nice. Interested. So
And
next
I'm
time
shaping
we
it at the
are
moment. Yeah.
cool. So next time we're going to have a chat. We're going to talk about your experiences there also. That would be great. Cool. Thanks, Tammie, again for being with us. Have fun. Bye-bye.